Okay. Last week in our lesson, Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane after having the Last Supper with his disciples, telling Peter that he would deny him 3 times, and gluing the guy's ear back on his head. After Peter cut it off, they took Peter to, first of all, to the high priest, and they violated a lot of Jewish laws in the way they proceeded. You're not supposed to have trials at night. They evidently had his trial at nighttime, and a lot of other things that they did that was not right. But they weren't in the business of doing right at this point. They asked him about what he had been teaching, and he said, you know, you guys were listening to me. You were there. Other people were there. Why don't you ask them? I didn't do anything in private, anything secretly. Some people finally testified that he said that he could raise the temple up in 3 days if it was destroyed. And they, just with really shoddy legal work, if you could call it legal work, they decided that he was worthy of death. Of course, they knew that they were going to decide that before they ever arrested him. They took him to Pilate. Now, Pilate was the Roman governor. So he wasn't Jewish. He was just the ones that the emperor had put, the one that the emperor had put in charge of Judea. And they wouldn't even go into Pilate's palace in order to get Pilate to condemn Jesus, because then they would have been violated from being in a Gentile's house too close to the Passover. So they don't want to do anything that would make them, like condemning an innocent man didn't make them unworthy to have the Passover. Pilate came out on his porch. They told him, we want this man crucified. And Pilate said, okay, what do you do? And they said, we want him crucified. They never really fully explained. Pilate understood. They were envious of Jesus. Jesus had a big following, and they felt threatened by him. And he understood what was going on. His wife came out and said, I just woke up and I suffered a lot of things in my dreams. I'm going to talk about nightmares. Because of this man standing in front of you, don't have anything to do with him, because it'd be bad. Pilate tried to release Jesus. In fact, he said, look, I've got a custom. Every year at Passover time, because that's your most special day, I give you one of your prisoners that we Romans have arrested. I'll give him back. So why don't I give you Jesus back? We'll just acquit him of all the charges. And the people instead demanded a murderer that Pilate had in the prison and said they wanted Jesus crucified. So Pilate had them bring a bowl of water. He washed his hands as a symbol. He said, this is not my fault. I'm washing my hands. I'm not dirty. I have nothing to do with this. He turned Jesus over to the soldiers, who then whipped Jesus. Take the flannel off. They whipped Jesus, much worse than what our flannel looks like. They scourged him. They put a crown of thorns on his head, and not, you know, we have our little rose thorns, are like this. These were probably thorns that were this way, that they wove into a crown, put it on his head, and they made fun of him and did all sorts of unpleasant things in making fun of him and mocking him. Then they took him to the cross. But meanwhile, while they were doing this, the Bible says it is the disciple who Jesus loved, and we're not real sure who that was. I tend to think it was Lazarus. But the Bible doesn't really tell us. He was in during the trial. and he heard everything they were saying. He went outside and he found Jesus. No, he found Peter. And he brought Peter in, and as they came in, the girl at the door said, "Oh, you, I know you. You used to run around with this Jesus they're trying." And Peter said, "No, no, not me. I didn't, no, I'm not one of his people, no." Mm-mm. He was warming his hands, and a bunch of people were around the fire warming their hands. Honest, they're not burning them. They're warming their hands around the fire, and someone said, "Well, you were one of those people. You were one of Jesus' followers." And Peter said, "No, no, you don't know what you're talking about." Then someone else came to him and said, "You know, I know you were one of Jesus' followers, and you were with him in the garden." It was the brother, I think, of the man whose ear Peter cut off. So there's a possibility he was in the garden too and saw Peter cut the guy's ear off. Here, go back on. Peter again denied Jesus. And when he did, a rooster crowed. Peter heard the rooster crow, and he ran outside and he cried. Because he had done exactly what Jesus said that he had said he would never do. That's a sad place for Peter to be, huh? But we know from later that Jesus said he was sorry. He repented of denying Jesus. And Jesus forgave him. And everything was restored. It was okay with Peter. In fact, he wrote 2 of our books of the Bible. You know, denying Jesus at his hour of greatest need, that's a pretty serious sin, isn't it? We know no matter how serious our sin is, how bad it may seem, that God will forgive us if we truly ask him to. Okay, let's sing a song.
What song?
Let's do This Little Light of Mine. This little light